Hampton Roads has a long-running high school and college sports tradition. It's time to give them the spotlight they deserve. This is 757 Saturday Sports Talk. Here is Matt Hatfield.
And welcome you back to 757 Sports Talk. Like, share, and subscribe to CoVA Sports TV on YouTube. Matt Hatfield here with you, and we have a special guest with us as my cohort just got called to an emergency. Hope he'll be back during the segment, Coach. But we shall see. We have the new head football coach of the Grassfield Grizzlies with us. He is Mike Biehl. He's got 757 roots, most recently coached at Nansemond-Suffolk Academy, and back in his day was a heck of a quarterback. We say good morning to you, sir, and I see you got the Eagles throw behind you, so you got to celebrate a Super Bowl this year, huh?
It's been a solid year for an Eagles fan, so I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, Matt. Proud to be here, man.
Yeah, our pleasure. Now, let me ask you about that real quick, because I see now you're an Eagles fan, so I'm going to stick on this for about a minute and a half.
That's fine. Hey, that's great.
Which Super Bowl was more satisfying, this year's against Patty Mahomes and KC, or the one against Tom Brady and New England? And I know you've had some losses in championship games, playoff games, Super Bowls as well, but which win was more satisfying before we get to which loss was more agonizing?
Man, I think the most recent one is the one that you always hold on to in the moment, but I think that group to have the injuries that they did really up and down the roster, both sides of the ball, for them to be able to go in there and beat Tom Brady the way they did and do it in kind of unbelievable fashion with Nick Foles playing the absolute game of his life. That was pretty special. That first one, I think Eagles fans everywhere would say that was the one. But hey man, what this team was, I don't think we've seen a better Eagles team in the last 2-3 decades, top to bottom, roster wise. They're both awesome. That first one, though, I think every Eagles fan would tell you, and that ball was in the air on the last play of the game, we were holding our breath because it doesn't happen for us. So it was great. It was great. Yeah,
and it's funny. They had a local guy from the 757, and Josh Sweat is now with my Cardinals, who was a big factor on defense. Josh, of course, from Oscar Smith. But I tell you what, y'all talk about sweating things out. That game with the Rams in the second round of the playoffs was really a sweat, wasn't it?
I mean, that could have went either way. And going into that one, I think Eagles fans, including the team, would say, man, if they were going to give us our best shot, they were going to get the best out of us because of what they could do offensively. But that was one, and our defense had to keep making stops, keep making plays. Even that last sack by Jalen, like, we have a bust. We have a bust in coverage. There's a wide open guy down the seam, and if we don't get a sack, like, that game's a little different. So, yeah, craziness. But Eagles fans, we're kind of always cynical. We're always waiting for the floor to drop out a little bit. So, I'm just glad they made enough plays to get it done. It was awesome.
Okay, so final one on that is stuff coaches say, chimes in 757 legend here, who's got records. You'll see it across our ticker here in a second about what Mike Biehl has done on the gridiron. We'll talk about that and also what's in store for his new position with the Grassfield Grizzlies. But so which was the most agonizing? Was it the Panthers, the Rams? There's always a loss that's –
Nah, it's Buccaneers, NFC Championship, Rondé going the other way. Like, I can put myself in that moment and, like, the lump in the throat, the devastation in the stomach, that was just like we thought Donovan was going to take it all the way and finish the drive, and man, that was crushing. That was a rough one.
Now, last week on the show, we were joined by a special guest who's also a new head football coach in Glenwood Fairby of Tallwood, who was a guy that's, he slung the football around like you did. So we threw this question to him. Take a look. Hey, and before we let you run, I got to get this to you, too. Next week, we've got on Mike Biehl, the new football coach at Grassfield, coming on. Like you, he put up some numbers back in his day in the beach playing for Chris Beatty at Salem. Who throws a football further nowadays, you or him?
I probably had to warm up get about 50 throws in to be able to get the rust off this arm. So he'll probably get me in the first couple.
Okay. That's what he said. Do you concur? Do you have a retort?
So Matt, I'm gonna be honest. I did my homework. I listened to that interview. And that made me laugh really loud. And this is what I'll say. I think if we had to throw right now, I think I might be able to get him. But if you lined us up side by side at our prime, I think Coach Farabee get me. That's a big, strong man that could really spin it. He was unbelievable back in his day. So I think he was accurate. But when it counted the most, I think he got me by a couple yards for sure.
Well, we'll have to set it up in the future. I know the schedule might not allow it, but do it. And they're in Class 5 Region A. You're in Class 6 Region A. Do a game or a scrimmage or something of the effect where you guys can just have a 50 from the 50-yard line, see who can go further. We'll measure it. How about that?
I love it, and I love where your head's at, because that was one of the first guys I reached out to when I knew he got the job, and we were still kind of putting different things together scrimmage wise. That's somebody who I would love to work with in the future in terms of, man, let's get some extra work. Let's do some 7-on-7. Would love to scrimmage those guys, because I know what he's going to bring to the table. That program, John did a great job, and he's going to elevate it with all the things that he does. But yeah, I foresee us getting some work in the future, because we both want the same things for our guys. Just get great work, put them in the best position to win, and that's what he's all about.
Sure. Now, also, as it scrolled across your ticker moments ago, you did play for Chris Beatty, now the wide receivers coach for the NFL's Las Vegas Raiders, and you were his quarterback back at Salem High School when you set then a record, VHSL record, 30,519 yards. It's since been broken. There's obviously guys, it's like video game numbers, like these NFL quarterbacks. The Joe Montanas don't have the records that now the guys like the Aaron Rodgerses and the Matthew Staffords have, and it goes down the same level with the high school kids. If it's some quarterback from Northern Virginia or some quarterback from or Oscar Smith, Lake Braddock, anywhere, Richmond, sure. Manchester. So for you, being a former quarterback, what are some of the things that you learned from Coach Beatty growing up, and as you went through your journey playing the game, and you've now used in your situations, be it before you got to Grassfield as an assistant, both at Tallwood, Kellum, and then as a head coach at Nansemond-Suffolk Academy now in your situation?
Yeah, so I tell people all the time, this coaching fraternity is exactly what it is, and I was incredibly lucky for Coach Beatty to come in when he did. I was going into my senior year, but what was really unique between us and our relationship is he knew right away that I wanted to get into coaching whenever I was done playing, and the little nuggets he would give me here and there, and especially the further we went on to that season and the off season, I use every single day. But the one that kind of encompasses everything is right before I went to school, he kind of brought me over and said, "Hey man, you're going to coach at some point. Just pay attention to the coaches that you're around and understand that the older you get, the harder it is to realize what it was like to be a player." And he's like, "Man, you're going to have years and years into this deal, and you're going to start young, and you're going to make a great connection with kids because you're close to their age. But as you go, a lot of coaches say, man, these kids are just different. Back when I played or back when I first started coaching, it was this way." And the reality is this: times change, but kids don't. And kids now, obviously, they have a lot more going on, a lot more at their disposal information-wise, but they're still kids. They're making the same dumb jokes we made 20 years ago. Their thoughts are pretty similar. It's so important to remember what it was like to be in their shoes. And that's something that I've taken with me everywhere, because it is. The older you get, it is a little bit harder to reflect back, but you got to constantly go back to say, man, if I was sitting in their shoes, how would I receive this? And that's something huge he gave me. But above everything else, man, Coach Beatty was just all about being the best version of yourself every time you're out there, whether it's in the classroom, the field, practice, game, whatever the case may be. So, man, that relationship has been invaluable. We're still close. We were talking the other day, and he's an unbelievable person. Obviously, his coaching acumen speaks for itself, but I can honestly say I wouldn't be here without Coach Beatty. That's for sure.
Yeah, that memorable run to a state title for Lansdowne a little bit more than 20 years ago, and you had some nice teams there when you played at Salem. We're joined by the new head football coach of the Grassfield Grizzlies. That is Mike Biehl here on 757 Sports Talk on CoVA Sports TV. Like, share, and subscribe. Grizzlies open up their season coming up on Friday, August 29th at the Church and Shuckers. Their home opener Friday, September the 5th against Woodside. You'll see that full schedule scrolling across our ticker in a moment. So let me channel my inner Ed Young here, since he's not here to ask you this question, Mike, so I can do my voice here. Hey, now, Mike, I got to know it. What changed you from private school, Nansemond-Suffolk Academy, did a heck of a job there, to public school, Grassfield? What drew you there? That's a question you would ask, so let me do it for him.
That's a great impersonation, too, and a great question. Love my time at NSA, 9 years, made lifelong relationships with the players and the people of that community. And for me, I'm so grateful that they gave me the opportunity to allow myself to kind of build that experience in that role. And to me, Grassfield's always been a program kind of similar to what Glenwood said on the program last week in terms of coaches talk. We pay attention. We look to see what schools are doing what with what they have to do it with. And Grassfield's always been a school that I've looked at from afar and said, man, that is a sleeping giant. They have everything they need to go be successful. And I believe that. But it's also, 20 minutes away from my house versus the 45 minutes that I was taking to Nansemond-Suffolk. And, to me, my kids are 6 and 9. My wife is unbelievably supportive, and they know what it takes to do the job the right way. And it takes a lot of time. Being a little bit closer, I can integrate them into a lot more of what I'm doing. And that's kind of how I envision doing this job is, everybody says this is a family, this is a family. Well, they got to see that. And it has to be true. And now I'm in a position where I can really involve them. And our players can see that this is a family. Like, it's a full investment from everybody involved with my family, our coaches, and obviously them. So that was the really attractive thing to me. But also, from a competitive standpoint, it's the highest classification of football in Virginia. Any competitor is going to want to play or coach or compete at the highest level. And that's no different for us as coaches or me, individually. So that was something that was really exciting to me. But the support, the community, it speaks for itself. And I'm just excited to be there for the opportunity.
Yeah, Oscar Smith coming off a state championship in your district. Kings Fork, Nansemond River, Western Branch, Indian River all have recent state playoff appearances as well. So it is a gauntlet there in the SED, the Southeastern District. Let's dive in on some of the guys we should watch out for the Grizzlies this year. You can start with the offense and flip it over to defense. I know there's a bunch of new faces. You're a new face to them, sure, but certainly some players will be making some noise throughout the year and beyond.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I feel like we have a lot of players that are a little younger and really are poised to make a name for themselves, whether it be their first, high volume action on varsity or they're switching roles or whatever the case may be. But offensively, I think everybody would say it starts with the quarterback and what you can do with him and how he can navigate your offense. And we're really lucky to have a good one in Colin Sparrow. He's a rising junior. He was their JV quarterback last year and backup. And he does everything the right way. He's progressed a ton over the last 2.5, 3 months that we've been at it. And I just think he's got the right mental makeup along with the physical tools to really do some things that can put us in a great position to make plays. But I'm looking forward to seeing him when things get live. But man, our skill positions, again, similar. I feel like we have a bunch of guys that are poised to have really big years because of what they can do physically, but also what they're bringing in to the table mentally every day working. I think a guy, you noticed over at Kellam was Avier Burgess, and he's a 6'2", 206, 207-pound wide receiver that's versatile. We can line him up outside, we can motion him into the slot, and he's going to be a matchup problem. But there's a ton of them. Colin's older brother, Mikey Sparrow, he's a slot guy that I think is going to do really, really well for us. And the other slot, Zion, is a guy that he can do so many things in space. Again, versatile, smart, physically tough. We got a young guy, Elijah Cherry, that's going to get quite a bit of reps and touches that I think when things get going. We got another kid, Robert Buttery, who's been doing a couple different things for us in the backfield, but also can run routes. We have a lot of guys that are just really ready to get out there and show people what they're about. And then, on the defensive side of the ball, I think, obviously start from the front end, and we have a lot of competition to see who is going to be in that front four. And luckily, as opposed to private school, we have a lot of bodies to create competition. That's a big difference between where I'm at now versus NSA. You develop, you don't have your roster set in stone depth chart wise, but you kind of have a pretty good idea of who's going to fit where because it's so smaller. Here, man, that front four on defense is going to be a battle to get on the field, and that's what we want. We want to be able to rotate guys in and throw as many fresh bodies at people as we can, and we have a lot of guys that can get that done. But the second and third levels, I think that's where the most of our experience is. At linebacker, we have a bunch of different combinations that we can use. Like I said, we've got at Mike Backer, Micah Bougie, who's coming off injury, but he's manned the middle for us quite a bit. Like I said, Zion can flip to that role on defense. Buttery also can go outside on outside linebacker. We got another rising junior, JC, who can do a bunch of different things at the second and third level. But then on that back end, I'm really excited about them. Antonio Johnson playing corner. He could also play some safety with his length. Noah Bowling is a guy that kind of directs the defensive backfield back there and has done a great job. And then, again, we have a bunch of guys that are kind of vying for time at that other corner spot or that nickel corner spot. And like I said, competition is the best thing to bring out of your roster in terms of building your depth chart, and we have that in a lot of spots.
Get you out on this, and we thank you so much for coming on the program. I know this will not be the last time we'll get you on, I'm sure, as we move it along into the season and beyond. You know this as an Eagles fan, pass rush is where it's at. I mean, Jalen Carter, Joshua, we talked about it, having that front, and Grassfield's had some big-name guys, not just Grant Holloway, who's a gold medalist, but you think of, in addition to him, coach Patrick Jones, who now plays the Carolina Panthers, had 7 sacks this season ago with the Minnesota Vikings. How much is it? We know lineman's always a tricky thing to build that depth, but as you go into the preseason here, your scrimmages, and get ready for game one, how much is it having fewer two-way guys and having fewer two-way linemen? It's going to be key as you try to build this thing year one. What's going to kind of determine how quickly you can have success in your eyes?
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more in terms of, hey man, if you want to have quick success or really sudden success, it's about what you can do with those guys up front. And just like you said, it's about, really trying to limit the number of guys going both ways. Some guys, they naturally do it, have done it their whole life. And then, you kind of look at that offensive line. I don't necessarily want my center playing 30 and 40 snaps on defense with the role that he has. So it's funny, we're at this stage, in the season and in our guys' development where coaches are kind of vying for guys now. Like, he could be a guard. He could just be a guard, not a defensive tackle. And that's really what camp's about. Like you said, that's what the scrimmages are about, to see who gives us the best 11 on the field on that side of the ball. And are they capable of giving us anything on the other side? If the upside drops to what they're doing at the highest level, then we got to make the best decision for us and the kid. And that's really where we're at now. But I completely agree with what you said. And that's something that, in private school football, you just kind of have to live with who can handle going both ways up front and try to limit it as much as you can. Here, I think we have the ability to develop both sides and make sure we're putting guys in the best position to just be fresh and be at their best at all times. So it's going to be interesting. But again, we've got a lot of guys that can roll, that are trying to get on the field, that I think are going to let people know who they are really, really early in this season. I'm looking forward to it.
Should be a lot of fun as they visit the Church on Truckers August 29th and the home opener against Woodside on Friday, September the 5th. Mike Biehl, the new head football coach of the Grassfield Grizzlies, our guest. Thank you so much. Before we let you run, we have one more from one of your coaching counterparts out there. Coach, will you be focusing on your role as a play caller on offense where you were an elite 7.57 quarterback, or using your defensive play calling prowess? Oh, my.
So the funny thing is, that's Coach Wayne Lance. He's an elite play caller himself, who's done it at a high level for a really long time. So I appreciate the question. I have a luxury of having really, really two great coordinators in terms of David Devers on offense. He's been with me for 8 years at NSA. And then we have George Harris coming in as a defensive coordinator who brings, decades of knowledge to the defensive side of the ball. So it gives me a chance to really, focus on the details of what we're doing to build our culture on a daily basis, but also be able to coach the quarterback, be able to be in his ear, but also be able to kind of oversee the whole thing. And that's really what I wanted to build in terms of a coaching staff. And I feel really lucky to have guys that I can count on. They're organized, they understand what we're trying to do, and it frees me up to kind of go where I need to go, but also focus. I mean, that quarterback spot's really important. So I can really put a lot of eggs into that basket while doing all the things you need to do to make sure everything's going the right way. So Great question from Wayne. He said he was going to ask one, so I'm not surprised. But man, I'm trying to follow in his footsteps. He's got some championships in his trophy case and done it at a high level. So,
well, listen, now that you don't have to play him anymore. Yeah, now that you don't have to play him anymore, you can just, when you have a bye week, sit up in the stands and start heckling him. Whenever the Seahawks play at the Sportsplex, whatever, just heckle the heck out of him.
Well, the funny thing is, he lives right around the corner from me, literally.
Okay.
Like, he's a block away. And I tell you, man, he does it the right way. He's a guy that I can reach out to at any point, whether I was at NSA or now that I'm here, and he gets it. You know, we're trying to help each other out and be the best we both can be. So he's a good guy to bounce some ideas off of.
He is, and he is rooting for you. Well, thank you so much. We're pulling for you as well. Looking forward to what's in store, because I've said it on publicly. I think Grassfield is one of the most enjoyable environments and atmospheres for a Friday night game, especially when that place is packed and the wins are coming. And I'm sure they will be coming for you sooner than later. Thank you so much, my friend, and all the best. Enjoy the rest of your summer, and I'm sure we'll talk to you down the road.
Thanks a lot, Matt. Happy to be here. Appreciate it.
You bet. That's Mike Biehl, head football coach of the Grassfield Grizzlies, with us here on 757 Sports Talk. More coming your way. Don't touch that dial. Stay tuned. Hit the like button, the share button, and most importantly, subscribe button. You're watching 757 Sports Talk on CoVA Sports TV.